Thank you so much. We're really excited to be here. Thanks, judges, for taking the time to listen to our presentation. My name's Maggie. This is my co-founder, Trisha, and we have started a venture called Pointz, which is like Waze for safe micromobility routes. Micromobility is the future of sustainable transportation. Nearly 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions come from the transportation sector, and half of all trips taken are 3 miles or less, which means that they could be taken on a bike or a scooter. So the issue is that 70% of the world actually wants to bike or scoot, but they're too scared to. And this is because there's a lack of infrastructure and people don't feel comfortable riding next to cars and trucks when they're on the road. We interviewed hundreds of people in the sector, including users themselves, people that work in the industry like operators, and also people that work with the government. And the recurring theme we heard was this need for safety. And we also have personal experience. I took a cross-country bike trip during my gap year after high school, biked from Virginia to California. And throughout the trip, hundreds of cyclists would tell me I'm on the wrong road. You're on a really dangerous road, you're gonna get hit by a truck. You need to go a mile down and take a different, quieter road because that's a lot safer. So I realized there's a lot of hyper-local knowledge, but I would have no idea because I'm not from the area. And if you haven't lived there for a long time, you wouldn't know these roads. And so instead of trying to alter the built environment by building infrastructure, we decided to build a tech product that leverages the roads that are already existing. And so it's called Pointz. It's like Waze for safe micromobility routes. The way it works is that people can view ratings on the home screen. They can choose the safest or the fastest route to their destination. They can follow turn-by-turn navigation steps, and finally, crowdsource to improve the maps. We also implemented a gamification strategy to keep people engaged. So every month we award prizes to the people who provide the highest quality and quantity of reviews in the app. These contests are powered by micromobility consumer brands, which gives us a greater reach to our potential riders. The market itself is growing really quickly at a 17% compound annual growth rate. And we estimate that the serviceable obtainable market is $600 million in annual recurring revenue. Given that 1 billion people ride every day, about a quarter of those people live in cities, and 4% are willing to pay for premium.
We launched our app back in January, and in a mere 5 days, we had over 930 organic signups. Most of these came from our beachhead market, which consisted of urban cyclists. So these are riders who essentially go into their cities or their towns and rate roads on the app and use our various routes as well. Since launching, we've had over 2,860 users join our community, and we've had a staggering average of 32% week-over-week user growth. Not only this, but we've had really engaged users. We already have over 9,300 roads rated in the app, and this number is just growing by the day. Some other accomplishments include gaining Mass Challenge 2021 finalist. We also were able to accept investment from Rogue Venture Partners, and we've been featured in the Boston Globe and Bloomberg. To grow our users, we're partnering with local bike organizations, national bike organizations, and we've already built out over 80 relationships with these organizations, the reason being because they have direct access to our beachhead market, which are these urban cyclists. But moreover, we are going directly to vehicle providers because they have access to the sort of users which don't really come from these organizations, maybe more of the ones who are from different sorts of ranges of streams, and yeah, they'll be great target users as well for the app. We'll make money in 2 different ways. The first is through B2C, so premium subscription. And so users can subscribe to really helpful features that are tailored towards bike riders. And these include saving and sharing routes, uploading and downloading GPX files, and more. And all of our users have pretty much been telling us we want these exact types of features and we would pay money for these. We'll also make money through B2B streams. So this means licensing our data to last mile delivery services, creating white labeling of our routing to providers like Spin, Bird, Lime, others, and also creating location-based ads that are relevant to bike riders. So you might be wondering, why hasn't Google Maps just done this? Well, we've heard hundreds upon hundreds of anecdotes from our riders, and we wanted to share one from Juan on why he chooses Pointz over Google Maps. So Google Maps, unlike Pointz, lacks low stress, safe routing in residential side areas and side streets. And so what happens is that Google Maps' algorithm only finds official bike lanes, which can be really dangerous to ride on. For example, let's look at an example of this. So say you have a road which has a painted bike lane, and it's in an area where there's a lot of car traffic, very busy, not super safe. It's going to be a lot easier if you just ride a couple side streets over in a residential side area. And this is what Pointz will direct you to do. We also have a couple other competitors in the field, Commute, Beeline, and Ride with GPS, but all of these lack the same sort of route quality and routing that our app has because they don't have the same amount of robust crowdsourcing and also data sets that we collect through municipalities and through existing GIS sources. We know that we're the team to create this app and make it a success. So Maggie over here has had robust experience in building and scaling out ventures and startups through her work as a VC consultant and also as an Amazon AWS scout. I'm the technical counterpart, and so I've had a lot of experience creating full stack scalable systems at NASDAQ and Adobe, specifically with mobile applications. We also have built out a robust team of software engineers, of developers, of full stack, back-end and front-end, plus designers and marketing analysts. We're also excited to have a great board of advisors that have some of the most renowned people in the field, such as Mia Burke. So she co-founded Alta Planning. If you're not familiar with this, you're definitely familiar with the bike share systems that she personally launched, such as City Bike, Bay Wheels, and Blue Bikes. If it wasn't for her, then none of these would be across the country. And we also have Tom Sperry, who's our investor, and he has invested in a bunch of different consumer apps, which have all exited for hundreds of millions of dollars.
The TCU Values and Ventures competition, if we were to win this prize money, it would have a huge impact on Pointz. And the way we would use the money is we would build out our data licensing product the rest of the way. We already have a client lined up and ready to buy this product. It's someone we can't say the name of, but you all know who they are. And we're really excited to be working with them and securing the LOI in the next couple weeks. This will just help us build out the actual product. Secondly, we'll be able to launch our premium feature set this summer, which will be great because we'll start bringing in revenue and it'll really propel us forward. And finally, we'll be able to start expanding to Canada and Europe, which we've been hearing countless requests from people in those areas that they want the app available there, but we just need to do a little bit more research to really understand those markets. So as you can see, the TCU Values and Ventures prize competition would propel us into these next instrumental steps that we're needing to take, which is the premium feature set and then the B2B products. And we also have some pretty ambitious user growth goals, which this would help us start to move forward, and also our revenue. We have some ambitious revenue goals as well. And here we believe that we don't only have the opportunity to impact the environment by providing greener transportation options for people, but also impact the community by providing safer routing. And we believe that there's also a huge financial opportunity in the market as well, and that hasn't been realized. So the leading reason that people don't use bikes or scooters is that they don't feel safe. And at Pointz, we're imagining a future where people feel comfortable taking most trips under 3 miles on a micromobility vehicle. This will lead to cleaner air, healthier communities, and safer streets for everyone. Thank you so much, and we're ready to take your questions.
Thank you, Pointz Mobility and Brown University. Judges?
Look, I think this is excellent. I just signed up and kind of got a sense for your app, and I think it's very good, that at least just going through it real quick. So congratulations, and the fact it's up and running, congratulations. How are you thinking about a kind of user-based payments versus, say, integrated with a Google or integrated with another, like a Waze or something else that might make a little bit more ease of use, or maybe a totally different revenue stream?
Yeah, so like the implementation of our product into existing products.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is definitely something we're looking towards. That's under the white label routing aspect, and potentially even allowing people to crowdsource from outside apps. That's a little bit more complicated, but would be very helpful. The reason that we're starting with our own product is that we're trying to really build out the baseline of crowdsourcing in our own app, create a lot of value there, and then push forward into other B2B revenue streams. So that is kind of our thought process there. Also, the B2B side of things they have a number of potential clients, but we also see that there's a huge revenue opportunity to monetize premium features, and have worked with some advisors who are in this space and have done that. And so we're testing a bunch of different options in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, how would you think about talking to someone like a Nike or an Apple that is trying to get it or is in an activity, but that this would make it even more effective? Have you talked to them, or what would you think about talking with them?
Yeah, so that would be a great, you can add on too if you want, that would be a great way to access a number of more users and get our product out there to more people. And it would also help them out, right? Because people feel more comfortable riding and doing active things. So we haven't talked to Nike or Apple yet specifically. We've talked to some folks who are in mapping at lesser known areas. But what we are looking to do is get our QR code on operators' bikes throughout different places, like get our QR code on a city bike, have City Bike help us promote it. It's an easier sell to them because it's like, okay, people feel these are safer routes you can take. If you can provide newer riders with a good experience right away, they're more likely to come back. Whereas if they took, no offense to Google Maps, if they took a Google Maps route, it's very up in the air if you would be on a dangerous street or not. And that's why we're trying to target more of the operators rather than broader consumer brands.
Oh, Maggie, and also if you go to the next slide, this is the QR code that we are
if you'd like to join us.
I would echo what Scott said, and congrats on having a great website and having an app, and it sounds like you already have some great organic engagement. Have you considered, just since you already have those partnerships and those businesses that are willing to pay, just keep it as a free model for now, just to increase your users and user engagement, and just eventually you can turn it on over time and just focus on getting the revenue from the businesses for now?
I love that idea, and that is something that I think we have talked to a little bit our current investors about. They're actually very open to us doing that. It's just a matter of what we're thinking about right now is the seasonality of things. So if we don't launch our premium product this season, it would be tougher to launch. Like, we're not going to try to launch the premium product in the winter because especially our good number of our user base is in the northern part of the country. But that is a really good point, and I think something that we have considered and may consider further in the future.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think also one important thing to note with the freemium or the premium features is all of these, again, are features which our users are telling us, can you please build these? Like, we need these. Like, these are important. We're already interested in downloading our routes so that we can go and look at them on a bike computer, which we already own, or blah, 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 because these are the urban cyclists, which we're targeting so far. But for in the future, next couple of months, we're hoping to get into the interested but concerned group. And so for those people, it'll be important to also maybe have access to those. Keeping it free could help with that.
Yeah, so kind of looking at what is a base mapping feature, like what should be included for free in this. We're working on building that fully out. We're a little bit nervous about adding in premium features that we may want to, put a paywall up on later. So that's part of it too. So, but yeah.
I mean, you could, and then, once they're hooked, and then
we could do that.
When it becomes premium, they're going to have to pay because they're already hooked on it.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm going to take a little bit of different stance from that, Dave, because I know, I'm a cyclist. I'd love this product y'all put together, but I know Strava has kind of had this issue where they started out with a free model and have had some real challenges with transitioning folks to the premium model just because they can't really see that value proposition of going over. So I do think there is some benefits of having an early adoption of the premium model, so you don't have that initial resistance. But I guess that would really be my question as you're kind of thinking through what would differentiate the free versus the premium model. What does that look like for you all?
Yeah, definitely. So I can go back to the slide that says what features are included on the premium model. But the decision to make differentiate between the free and the paid version was, like I just mentioned, kind of what is expected in a mapping app and what should be included for free. And then we felt that these features that were being requested pretty frequently are more for experienced riders that may be using the app more frequently. And so that's kind of what went behind that. And we're also testing, so we're doing focus groups with folks. I'm in a focus groups class. We're using this as our project, of course. And so we're figuring out what are people actually interested in potentially paying for, and these are some of the more advanced features that have arisen from that research.
And then one other question, I mean, your product is touting the safest routes versus not necessarily the fastest route. Are there any concerns about liability, any accidents happening on your safe route that you might have to deal with?
Yeah, I can take that and feel free to add on. So we got this question yesterday as well, but we're thinking about changing the language. Instead of saying safe, saying low stress, just because the wording is a little bit more, it gives us more room for error, I guess. Right. And we are working with some legal counsel on this topic exactly. We just had a meeting last week about it.
Just to add on to also what Maggie said, it's oftentimes easier for people who aren't as engrossed in the biking or cycling or scootering space to understand what safer means versus low stress or high comfort while riding. So that's just like an easier way to approach it as well.
I love riding my bike in Idaho, and I wouldn't even think about riding my bike in San Francisco because I'm one of those scared people to ride. So I applaud what it is you guys are doing. Can you talk a little bit more about how you're getting the flywheel of consumer adoption and the ability of a user to share, things about your app so that you keep that flywheel going?
Yeah, our feedback loop has actually been off the wall. It was very overwhelming when we first launched. People kept sending us so many messages. We had to stop what we were doing and just reply to everybody. And we took all note of it in Trisha's awesome software, which we're using to record all of these requests that people are giving us and ideas that they have, bugs that they had at first. And so what we do is we take all of their feedback in, we look through them, we kind of tally them up, which of these topics has the most requests, and then which of these topics is easiest to build quickest. And so we prioritize it that way, and then add things to the backlog and to the timeline. And then in terms of kind of what we're doing for getting a lot of feedback in certain areas is we're trying to specific cities first. So we have 5 cities that we're focusing on over the next months into the summer, throughout the cycling season this year.
I'd like to also just add on to I think something else that you asked, which is how do you get other people to share it and create that sort of user growth through different product-led growth. So one way that we're doing it is through referral links in the app. We're building up, so all these features, we have a bunch of features that we're building up for marketing and Maggie's team to be able to go and expand and explode this. And so these are referral links. These are also creating more customized tags. So you can label, right now you can label roads, like Maggie was explaining in the slides, on a 1 through 5 safety scale. But it's not just as simple as that. It's also quite nuanced. You guys are cyclists, you would know. Is this electric bike friendly? Or rather, how elevated is this? Or to what extent is there a weird road surface that you have to get through and navigate through? So all of these things are also trying to help us to make it more accessible to people who maybe have different perspectives on what it means to add and crowdsource. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's one more question? What's your ideal exit strategy?
Yeah, so we expect to exit through acquisition, most likely. And we have a few ideas of different categories of companies that would acquire us. Last mile delivery is one. The company that we're looking to work with has a tradition of working with you and then building up the product, and then they acquire you eventually. That's not a bad option. they would be able to take the product and push it further, which would be awesome. We also could see Apple Maps. Apple Maps has tried to do bike directions so many times, and I don't know if you guys have tried using them, or they usually take them away. They go away, they come in for a little bit, and then they go away. So Apple Maps has tried this, but hasn't been successful. We could see them being an acquisition vehicle. Yeah, and then also potentially operators. So people that are, Lyft now owns almost all they own a ton of bike share and scooter share platforms in the country. They're all white labeled to be different names, but they are the company behind that, so that could be another potential exit.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Pointz Mobility and Brown University.